Well, now, this is the information that is not shared out there by the fortunate people whom we consider the wealthy in our nation. But this is an information that you really need to have for the purposes of acquiring that what we call the financial freedom. I know you try as much as you can. Sometimes you don't even sleep. Probably you're watching this video. Maybe you're driving. Maybe you're just trying the much you can so that at least you can be wealthy, make that extra money for the sake of your generation and also yourself. All right? At this particular video, I'm going to share with you why you need at least 3 bank accounts in Kenya for you to be rich. I know that may sound crazy. You'll be like, what? Does it mean I have to go back and open? Listen to this video so that you get the maximum information. Guess what? I'm not charging you nothing. I'm just sharing this information to you for free. The only thing I need from you in return is to like this video. It doesn't cost you anything, and also subscribing. Those are two magical buttons. Never ever leave them behind as you watch my videos. And I know you're asking, okay, fine, what's the importance of that? I can just ignore. It helps me, by the way, so that the video can be suggested to more people, and also you'll be notified whenever I upload a new good video. So the subscription button is down below. There is a small black button. Hit it and also like the video. Let's get into the business. Okay, now these are the 3 accounts that you ought to have in this country for you to be what? To be wealthy, to be rich, to achieve that financial freedom. Number 1, okay, number 1, you need to have what we call the landing account. The landing account. What does it mean? This is that account that usually receives your money after you get payment. Let's say you're employed out there. This is the first destination where the money lands after you actually exchange your time and your services. Let's say maybe you're a teacher. Let's say you're a doctor. Let's say you are whatever. Maybe you've been employed. When I say account, bank account, I don't necessarily mean it has to be a bank account. It can be your M-Pesa. It can be whatever. It can be cash, whatever. That place where your money lands first after actually acquiring it from people, we call it the landing account. Right? And this is where a majority of the people go wrong, is that you mix everything in one basket. That what you spend, that what you invest, that's where money lands, that's what you pay for your black tax, that's where you pay your debts and all those kind of things. And then in the meantime, you get confused. You don't even understand what goes where. So what do I mean? The very first account that you need, we call it the landing account, where the money comes in, kicks in, rests there. Now from the landing account, that's where you get some money. Now from the land, it's like what do I mean? Can you take this example? You are constructing somewhere. The tipper comes with a sand and maybe pours out there, and then guys are picking it from that place, taking it where it's required. Tipper cannot just come with the sand and actually deliver to the fundis and what have you. You get what I'm saying? I know it may be an awkward example, but I bet you get what I'm saying. There is a specific place where the tipper does its sanding and also the stones and whatever, the building blocks, whatever you're gonna call them, provided you get what I'm trying to say. Okay, so that place where the money lands in, that's what we call the landing account. That's the very first thing. There's nothing amazing about this. Okay, much of the information is on the subsequent accounts. The second one, the second account that you ought to have is what we call the spending account. The spending account. Okay, now what do I mean the spending account? Definitely from the name it suggests the spending account. This is where you get the money for you to pay your bills, maybe pay your rent, maybe pay your debts, maybe pay some black tax, pay your school fees, pay your clothing, pay your entertainment, pay your electricity, water. I mean, all those things that actually sustains a human being for the sake of the existence. Okay, now you ought to have those account or that account at your disposal. What do I mean by that particular point? There is no way you can have a spending account if you do not have a magic thing called budget. So you ought to have a what? You ought to have a budget. Why? Because budget is actually what guides you to know, hey, how much will I be able to channel toward this area? And I'm going to give you a very real example. I had a client of mine who called me and he's running a business, and the guy was having a very tough moment actually identifying where the money is going. The guy was making a good amount of money each and every day. But the problem is this, he cannot be actually, account where his money is actually going. And I asked him, how many accounts do you have? He told me I only have 1 account. I said, what? You are a business individual. You have, house that you're paying for your business. You have some home rent. You have your school fees. You have your car. You have your guys whom you're paying as the labor and all those kind of things. Then you're getting money from 1 single account, unless you're a genius. I'm not saying you can't survive with 1 account. You can if you know and understand your numbers very well. But if you're not good so much at numbers, then you ought to have 2 different or 3 different types of accounts. There's some people even have 4 different accounts. There are some people who usually have account for paying their employees. Simple. Because you have a huge number of people who you ought to be paid, you cannot be able to mix all that cash in one single account. So I told the guy, hey, guess what? From today and now, you ought to have at least 3 accounts. For the business, for what we call your personal spending accounts, and also for the savings, the investment, and all those kind of things. So that at least you can be able to monitor. Because what you're doing is that you're stealing from your business, you're getting back to you don't even know how your numbers are actually going. So it is good to understand what we call the spending account. That's where the money goes. That's where exactly you usually get your money to pay your bills and all those kind of things. Okay, now let's go to the next point. And I know there's a question that is actually kicking in now. Joseph, does it mean that the money that lands in the account you drain the draining account? I'm going to answer that question, the last part, after discussing the last one. The other one, the last one, and of course, I know you must have guessed it right, is called what we call the savings. And I really hate this name, by the way. I don't like this name, savings. I love saying accumulating or storing. I don't like this name. It's quite an old-fashioned one. Okay, fine. Let's just use it for the purpose of understanding. Saving or what? Investing or investment. Okay. Investment account or goal or whatever you're gonna call it. All right, basically this is the money that you channel towards for the sake of your future. You see, life is not all about eating, drinking, and having a sleep somewhere or whatever. No, that's not the life. Life is when you bring a difference. And let me tell you one secret. Okay, it doesn't make any difference you having kids and bringing them up and what have you. What brings that what identifies you from, because even an idiot can do so. What brings a difference between you and successful people is, for example, let's take an example of our president. Okay, whether you hate or love him, let's just use him as an example. Ruto, His Excellency. That guy is not only a father, he's still a what? A president. So what does it mean? So being a father is sort of a common thing. It's sort of an average thing. It's sort of unexpected if you are, if you are male, okay? And it's not, well, I know you may say it's a great thing because you brought up kids. Fine, I understand, but it's not really like an outrageous thing to achieve, okay? But when you become a father, on top of that, you're a president. On top of that, you are, for example, Right Honorable Raila Odinga, the guy who was prime minister. Like, instead of him being just a father, he's still a what? You get the thing, yeah? There's something on top of that, what is regarded as average and common and normal, all right? What does it mean? It means that when it comes to savings and investment, this is what brings difference between people. That's for sure. And this is what actually, draws a line between a successful person and a failure. Because spending is not a big deal. Spending does not, you get what I'm saying? Now, on the investment, the savings, this is the money that you're supposed to be having it. Say, hey, I actually managed to save 10,000. That money, I actually channel it towards my either fixed deposit, whatever the place, or maybe I invest it directly, or all those kind of things. So these 3 accounts, you ought to have them. If you are an adult, if you are earning some cash, does not matter whether you are employed or not employed, you're self-employed or whatever you are, you ought to have these 3 accounts in this country of ours. And if you realize, if you have these 3 accounts, the landing account where money gets in, you channel some towards your spending, you channel the other towards your what? Your investment. And I would prefer you doing this in this order. Start with the savings first, then go to the spending account. From that particular point, now you already know if something happens within your duration. Let's say your spending account usually channel that money that can sustain you in a typical 30 days, okay? And something happens in between. You can borrow from your savings account, pump back to your what? Your spending account at that particular point. And immediately after getting the money from this, then you can be able to do what? To pay back your what? Your saving account. And from the saving account, this is where you can have some other subdivisions. It's not a must that you open other accounts, but you can have some subdivisions. You can have what we call emergency fund here. You can have what we call the sinking fund in this category, and all those kind of things, okay? So not a must that you open, like for example, if you were to open all the bank accounts, maybe it could be 6. Okay, but the point is this, hey, you need these 3 major bank accounts for yourself so that at least you can be able to monitor your cash and progress to the next level. Okay, now the question is this, what do you do with the landing account? Because it seems as if it's not important. Where can't I have the, no, come on, I know what you're thinking. Just have the landing account, because this account is what is subjected to what we call the things like, hey, you getting a loan if you're looking forward to having a loan in future, because they usually look the activities of this account, in terms of your credit score, how much do you deposit, at what frequency, and all those factors. Just have it at your disposal. After all, it's the account that you did shares with your employees, so that's where the money comes in. But just consider this account not consider this account having two major reasons or ways. One is to receive the money, and two is to do what? Is to do something called, having that good credit score, so that at least you can get a loan if you're looking forward into having or getting a loan in future. Now, those are the three accounts that you ought to have, because if you do not have these accounts, it will become a little bit tricky and hard for you to actually monitoring how you do your things. Now, let me just recap and explain to you the point that you're supposed to be getting at all the time. Now, what you're supposed to understand with these accounts, you can show up to your bank and inquire on opening these accounts. And these accounts may be different. For example, if it's a saving account, you can open, depending on that specific bank what offers, you can open an account that actually favors you on that specific area. For example, you can fix your money. For example, you can invest directly to money market fund. You can invest this money towards the treasury bills. You can invest this money towards stocks and shares and what have you. The spending account, there's nothing amazing in this account. It's just a place whereby you can be able to be getting some cash. Some people decide to have an account, and this is why I always tell people, this account you can actually share with your partner. This spending account is an account that you can actually, some people decide to go in a joint way, which I don't advocate. I always say let everyone have their money for real. If you ask me, that's for sure. But this is an account that you always know. This is where the school fees comes in, so that even your partner can be able to monitor and say, hey, guess what? I think we are running out of cash, so they can be able to adjust themselves based on what they are seeing from this specific account. So it's always good to make sure that at least you understand this account better, because there's nothing amazing on this, and also the other one called a savings account. Now, guess what? That's the end of this video, but it's not the end of me posting a video each and every day. Make sure that you hit that like button, subscribe, and also comment down below, tell me what you think. I subscribe to the understanding that, hey, just like an iron sharpens another iron, so do we learn from each other. For now, it's a goodbye, but don't forget, grab my number file from the description of this specific video. All right, shoot me a call or a text, and we can talk businesses, because I have booklets about investments. I also have things to do with personal consultations, businesses, finances, and what have you. For now, it's a goodbye, and see you in the next one.